Well, hello there, and welcome to my Facebook Live today. I'm going to be talking about future potentials, and I'm going to be looking at a few notes because there's a few things I really want to make sure that I don't forget to say. So, excuse me if it looks like I'm looking somewhere else. I probably am. I'm looking at my notes. So, is this the shift of consciousness that we've all been waiting for? Well, if you don't know who I am, my name's Karen Turpin. I've been a teacher and healer and psychic for over 25 years now, and I'm also a transformational mindset coach. And I have I'm the creator of an online course called Abundance Bootcamp. You can look up my website if you'd like to. It's karenturpin.com. But onto more important things for today. What the heck is happening right here on this planet right now? Is it a virulent virus of which we all should live in fear? Is it biological warfare? Is it a cover-up to install 5G, to microchip everyone and enforce mandatory vaccinations? Are we now beginning to live Agenda 21? Or is this the shift of consciousness that we've all been expecting anyway? Well, so many questions bouncing all over the internet, equaled only by the number of people stating with absolute certainty that they know what's happening here because archangels or ETs or off-planet guardians have told them. But if you prefer, of course, you can look at certain astrological alignments to see what's really going on. And I haven't heard much recently about the Mayan calendar, but I'm sure if you look it up that it also would have something to say. Are you confused? Well, you should be. If you're not, then you need to get out more. But wait, of course, you can't go out because you're in house arrest. Oh, sorry, I mean self-isolation. So honestly, I've heard so many different snippets of what's really going on here that I actually have no time for it anymore. I've switched off. And I recommend that you do the same, but not until you've heard what I have to say, because I think it will help you to make sense of a few things, and I think it will put your mind at rest too. So I'm not going to make any rash claims that I know what's really happening for everyone. And I think that's the whole point, because every one of us is experiencing something totally different and very individual and personal to what everyone else is experiencing. And actually, we are the only ones that can give it meaning for us. Because everything is a matter of perception. It's us that attaches meaning to things. It's us that decides what things mean to us in both a good way and a bad way. So let me give you an example. In spiritual circles, people often say that when you find a feather, that it means something. Now, I've seen people in psychic reading groups that I belong to put up photos of a feather that they found, and they ask people, what does it mean? And I've seen elaborate charts that show the size and the shape and the color of the feather and give a meaning to it. And I've seen people ooh and ah over this particular feather and how it could affect that person's life, whether it's a blessing or a warning. Now, literally, I see somewhere between 5 and probably 30 feathers every single day. I live in a wooded area where there are plenty of birds, and I keep chickens. So I'm always surrounded by feathers. They're always around me. Does that mean that I'm any more blessed or cursed than the next person? No. Am I poo-pooing this feather thing? No, not really, because sometimes I find a feather and intuitively I know that it was meant for me. In that moment, it feels like a cute little blessing from the divine or something, and it makes me smile. Now, do I rush to find the meaning of that particular feather? No, because I trust that what I need to know will come through to me, and it always does. But most importantly, getting external validation from people that I don't even know about what a feather means to my life actually seems quite ridiculous to me. And this is how I'm kind of approaching this current time space that we're in right now in regards to this virus thing. Now, life has proven to me that our thoughts create our reality. If I were to focus on the colour and size of a feather that I happen to come across on my daily walk, I'm completely giving my power away to it, to a feather, to an object that once was living and growing upon a bird and which is now lying lifeless upon the ground. But this virus is a completely different thing, I heard you say, because people are sick, people are dying. Well, yes, apparently they are, because I saw that on TV too, so it must be accurate. And I've heard all the warnings that we are supposed to put in place lest we come across a random virus sitting upon a surface somewhere. Are viruses even alive? Some would say, no, they're not. But regardless, none of this can override the universal law that our thoughts create our reality and that we attract experiences to us based on our thoughts. So yes, it's that old law of attraction, be careful what you wish for type of thing. But let's understand that this is scientifically proven to be accurate through quantum physics, things like the double slit experiment. And so if the focus of our thoughts is what we create, how many people are focused on a virus that may or may not even exist, that may or may not even be alive? But still, people are putting their thoughts onto it, and our thoughts create our reality. There's a very real danger here that millions of people are putting their attention on a feather that means nothing more than we make it mean. Oh, sorry, I mean on a virus. So, do you think I spend my time focusing on a virus, panicking and freaking out because I might have missed 0.0001 of a millimeter on my skin when I wash my hands? No, I'm not even giving it a thought. And why? Because my thoughts create my reality. And what do you think I will create in my reality if I focus all of my thoughts on this? So, am I still washing my hands? Yes, of course I am. Am I self-isolating and social distancing? Yes, of course. Because I believe that it's wise to be cautious, and I believe that it's disrespectful to other people if I don't. So when I walk past a person while I'm out with my dog, I do leave the appropriate space between us. Not because I'm scared of them or a virus, but because people are afraid right now, and I don't want to add to that fear for them. The world is rather surreal at the moment, I'm sure you'd agree. We definitely are not in Kansas anymore. And we are seeing some extremely disturbing signs of people's consciousness beginning to break down, which I think is actually the purpose of this whole point in time, because I do see this as a consciousness shift. You always have to dismantle things before you can rebuild them anew. And that's why it's even more important that we pay attention to our thoughts right now, to what we are creating with our own thoughts. So yes, I know I'm repeating myself a lot. There is a method to my madness, and it's for a reason, because I want you to understand what I'm saying. People are in fear. They've lost their jobs and they can't pay their bills. They fear that they will not have food, so those who can afford it rush out and hoard it. Next, they will hoard alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs because they need their fix. That's kind of how humans are wired. And honestly, yes, I've bought an extra bar of chocolate because I need my fix too. Everywhere around us, people's lives are being dismantled. And now they are told they have to stay at home. They have no job, they're not allowed out, and they are alone with their thoughts and with their fears and with all of the emotions that they've probably never had to deal with before, because they could distract themselves by keeping busy with their external life. But the external life has now been taken away, and only the internal exists. Now, when you first start meditating, did you have the experience where all you saw for a while was dark stuff, like shadowy faces and figures and intense emotion that sometimes threatened to overwhelm you? Well, I know I did, and many of my students have as well. And that's what many people are just beginning to face now. But the difference is, this is not a meditation. So they can't just open their eyes and make it all go away. Actually, the dimension in which we access that emotional stuff is kind of fusing and blending into this physical level now. And so for some of these people, it's really like a terrifying nightmare that they can't wake up from. So there is just no escape from their own thoughts and emotions coming up. This is their life now, and all of their unhealed emotional baggage is starting to rise up, a bit like bile. Many people will literally not be able to live with themselves. It's like facing all of your demons, all of your fears all at once, and you can't get away from it. This fear, for some people, will be all-consuming. So they may try to project it all upon the loss of their livelihood, but actually it runs much deeper than this, because it is an existential crisis on a soul level. And this is particularly hard on those people who've never met themselves at this level ever before. And this is precisely why we've been working on ourselves for years, to clear our emotional baggage so that we can remain in balance and hold a higher state of consciousness, and so that we could rid ourselves of that emotional toxicity from our body, in order to be able to hold higher vibration in every cell of our body. To be able to hold a high vibration that just perhaps will create some level of immunity to a low frequency virus. Because remember that there has to be an energetic alignment or frequency resonance for an experience to manifest into the physical. So our internal attracts our external. So our thoughts create our reality. And if we now focus our thoughts on a terrifying virus, no job, no money, no food, house arrest, and all the other stuff that's going on, what do you think we will create in our reality? Well, exactly. We'll be creating something that we don't really want to experience. But I see something else going on here as well. And because we create our own reality, and because we like to attach meaning to things, we will see things in a way that reflects our personal beliefs and the programs that we run in our own mind. So that could be something completely different to what our partner or friend or colleague believes and will experience. And this can go in a few different ways. So bear with me, and I'll just break down a few of these for you. Now, have you ever heard of the 100th monkey effect? The 100th month, I can't even say it. The 100th monkey effect is the spontaneous transference of knowledge through a species once a certain number of individuals has learned a new action or thought or new idea. It actually bypasses physical barriers. It's like a mind-to-mind jump or a leap in consciousness. And this idea came when Dr. Watson, who wrote the studies of Japanese monkeys in his book Life Tide, 1979. The idea came from him, and Wikipedia tells me that this is not proven. And I wasn't there, so I don't really know. But apparently, Japanese scientists observed a particular breed of monkey over a span of 30 years. And in 1952, a young monkey solved the problem of dirty raw potatoes by washing them in a nearby stream. And this new trick was passed along to her mother, to her playmates, and then on to their mothers. And so on. It spread until most of the troop had learnt how to do the same. But the interesting point is that members of the troops on other islands also exhibited exactly the same behavior very shortly afterwards. Even though they'd never been shown this skill, they'd never met or seen each other physically. So the 100th monkey is a beautiful metaphor for a phenomenon that is being increasingly proven scientifically. It's like the tipping point in which, with just one more person having a particular awareness or a particular experience, it could close the loop or complete a blueprint for that event. After that, anyone can tap into the collective consciousness and download that data. Everything is consciousness or data, even a virus. So how was this information passed on? Well, it was through thought transference, through the collective thought of a mass consciousness. Do you see where I'm going with this? Have you ever had a thought that clicked in your head like a light bulb switching on, and then you looked across the room at your friend and you know that he or she had exactly the same thought at exactly the same time? You probably smiled at each other because you know that you both got it at the same time. Well, that's thought transference. Now, we know that our thoughts create our reality. We know that in order to manifest something into the physical, we have to be an exact match for it on a vibrational level. So what if we spent so much time thinking about a virus, researching it, reading about it, listening to everything that the media has to say about it, that we become a perfect vibrational match for it? And what if we created it and manifested it into our body just by creational thought transference, without ever coming into contact with it via another person or via a contaminated surface? Is that possible? I don't have that answer. I'm just putting it there for you to consider. Are we living through a process of transmission of a virus through thought transmission of consciousness using the principles of the 100th monkey effect? We have the power to heal our body with our mind. And we also have the power to make ourselves sick with our mind. We've seen this before, the power of belief, the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. So I'll leave you to ponder that as a potential, who knows, it's possible, but it's something I've been thinking about and pondering upon myself. Now, the problem that we have as humans is that we're not very good at knowing our own minds. We don't always know what we believe, and we rarely know what subconscious programs we're running in our mind until we begin to work on them. Subconscious thoughts are hidden thoughts. And of course, I use hypnosis with my clients to uncover these thoughts, the limiting thoughts, of course, and then I help my client to override them and reprogram their minds for success. We're all susceptible to subliminal programming, though, and it comes from everywhere. It comes from our childhood, through society, from the media, from spiritual groups, from books that we read. It's everywhere. But we're not usually aware when exactly we've been programmed. It affects our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, our actions, but it's so unconscious that we usually miss it. I have a bit of a superpower of being able to spot subliminal programming. I'm sure I don't see everything, but a lot of it seems to jump out at me quite clearly. And what I'm seeing in this so-called pandemic is a deliberate subliminal fear program. When people are in fear, they act irrationally, self-policing and hoarding, that type of thing. They shift their decision-making process from their conscious mind to their subconscious mind or reptilian mind, which is all about survival and doing whatever it takes to make them feel safe in the moment. It makes people very subservient and compliant to control. And that's why it can be so difficult to get out of a narcissistic relationship, a codependent relationship. And when the government tells you that it's doing this, that, or the other to keep you safe, your mind finds comfort in that. So it goes along with it and accepts whatever it's given. Now, it doesn't affect everyone in the same way, though. The people that can hold their own thought process, they're not so easily programmed. And these are the people who protest the government controls. They are the resistance, like the yellow vests or the people protesting in Hong Kong, notably, who have all been shut down now through this viral fear program and the government controls. Strong minds still exist, though, and more we are seeing people exhibit these strong minds because they're seeing through the veil. Day by day, there's more people waking up. But when we're in fear, we are also in fight and flight, and this lowers our immune system. It makes us more susceptible to viral attack, by the way, and it also causes anxiety, depression, even suicidal thoughts. So please look out for this in yourself and in your loved ones and get some help, you know, if this is what you're seeing or if you're feeling that way, because it can be very real for some people. When we're in this state, there is such a deep fear that we can become paralyzed, frozen, like a deer that's caught in the headlights, and we become terrified of everyone and everything. Literally, it's like a breakdown of our mental faculties and our ability to think clearly or rationally. We become almost like zombies in some respects, you know, walking aimlessly from room to room, feeling completely lost and disconnected. Now, I've attached, or I will attach, a link below to a video by Derren Brown that shows how we can be easily programmed by our surroundings to think, act, or in the case of this video, to create certain things. In this video, he invited a couple of marketers to come along and to design something for him. They had no idea that he had previously implanted thoughts into their mind of what he wanted them to create through the use of very subtle subliminal programming. So watch the video and see how easily it's done. And then I invite you to start noticing how everywhere you look and everywhere that you don't look, You are being subliminally programmed by the word COVID-19, which is a trigger word that is being used at this time to instill fear and to call to mind a particular vision that has already been created as a potential future outcome for you and for society. Please revisit the movie called Inception to get an insight of how this works, how you can create an architectural blueprint and then step into it and live it as a reality. So they know that their actions will cause a breakdown in society. We're seeing that all around us now. And they have a plan to rebuild it in a new way. The way they want it to be, and another trigger that has started to be rolled out very publicly on TV, is the trigger word, the New World Order. I've seen it used several times on Australian TV stations now, and I'm sure it's being used elsewhere too. Because not only do our thoughts create our reality, but theirs do too. And believe me, they are putting a lot into creating the reality that they want, getting us all on board with it, but it doesn't have our welfare or freedom at heart. So there is good news. Once you know how these mind control and subliminal programs work and how the creation of a timeline works, then you can begin to override them, because it's not subliminal anymore once you've seen it. So learn how this works so that you can become immune to the trigger words that I've just mentioned. And I'm sure there's others around too, so begin to look out for them. Just like in the video, there are several layers to this. So you can begin to take control of your thoughts and decide for yourself what is rational, accurate, and proven, and what is not. You may have to dig a little bit, and you may have to research a little bit. Don't necessarily take the first thing that is given to you. But when you begin to pay attention to your thoughts and learn to see where they go, you get to decide for yourself if the outcome or the direction in which you're headed and what you are seeing as a potential future is really the one that you want to experience or not. So pay attention to your thoughts, because they will drive you towards that experience if you're not taking care. Now, if you're anything like me, you've been meditating and doing healing work on yourself for many years already. You're probably very well aware of frequency and vibration, and you've probably been working on yourself already to shift your consciousness into a higher state of being, knowing that your health will improve and you will be able to live a more abundant and happy life. But you're not immune to this COVID program until you see it and acknowledge it. You also won't comprehend this if you're living in a state of denial, or if you're floating around in la la land, as we often see with people in spiritual and New Age communities. You are required to be conscious now, to be able to hold your center in the eye of the storm, to consciously choose where you place your thoughts, and to be conscious of what you're creating in the quantum field, because that's where all of these future potentials exist. So let's explore this a little bit further now. If you are a healer or a light worker, it's even more important that you understand this, because you hold a particular charge of energy that's very powerful. If you fall into fear, you are lowering your vibration and you are aligning to an outcome that you probably don't want. Equally, if you are out of your body in another dimension, you're not being effective here. If you are visioning Armageddon, the end of times, everyone around you sick and dying, then you are charging that timeline of that vision with the power of your own energy. And if you're a healer or a light worker or anything like that, you have a charge of energy that you would be putting into creating that future potential. When enough energy has gathered on a particular timeline, it becomes manifest. So we have to take care what is made manifest. So this is the same as what prayer does. When we pray or send distant healing to somebody, if enough of a positive charge of energy can be gathered there, they will be healed. This is what shamans do too. They focus their energy on a particular outcome. You know this. So pay attention to where you put your energy and what you do with your thoughts. I'm sorry if I get a bit shouty about this. I'm passionate, and it's important that you understand this. Honestly, you cannot afford to let your thoughts go onto this virus timeline, even for a single moment, because you have a power there. This is the time we've been waiting for. We collectively have the power to override whatever shitstorm is going on around us, just with the power of pure consciousness and love. But we can't do it if we're floating around in a bubble of bliss, tuning out because it's painful to look at. We need our feet on the ground, connected to Mother Earth, who, by the way, is already using this time to clean up the environment and get into a growth phase. If you think it takes anything less than pure focus, then I'm sorry, but you're sadly mistaken. This is the time to control your thoughts. Focus your energy in the direction that you really want to experience here. If you want to live in a world of mystical creatures and rainbows, then go right ahead. Your thoughts create your reality after all. But if you really want to make a difference here in this world, to be of service, then being solid and grounded and holding your vibration high is what we need right now. You're not being helpful if you're not even in your body because you're floating in a cloud of ayahuasca or mushrooms. If you are, then you are entering a whole different timeline experience to the rest of us, because I can guarantee that when you wake up and border controls mean that you've run out of your goodies, you will be living in a world that you don't even recognize, and bliss will be a word that people used in the good old days. We are in a timeline shift. In spiritual circles, we've talked about this for years. This is the time we've been waiting for. It's what we've been working towards. But if you thought it would be a breeze, then you're mistaken, because some work is required, and the work is all internal. So it's actually a gift that we are all in isolation right now. The universe has offered us the perfect opportunity to do this internal work. Or you could choose Netflix instead. The choice is always yours. Clearly, this is an opportunity to shift into a higher state of being. Yet we are presented with an agenda to spread fear, which is such a low state of being. Which will you choose, and what are you doing about it? To move into a higher dimensional experience of love, of peace, of harmony, we have to be able to hold that vibration in every single cell of our body. But we can't do it if we're in fear. We have to hold a high state of consciousness in order to be a vibrational match for that high consciousness experience. As healers or light workers, or just the normal Joe Bloggs from down the street, we all hold a certain level of awareness. You could call it a code or an energetic passport. that will align us to our next particular timeline or experience. So think of it like going through a sorting station, showing the guard your passport, and he directs you to where you need to go next. And you go off into that room or onto that train or onto that plane that will take you to your next destination. You've been creating your code or energetic passport since you became an adult. Every thought, action, deed has been registered. Every emotion or state of mind has been calibrated. Every single thing about yourself has created your unique coding, and you will see the manifestation of that now in your external environment. And that's why some people experience challenges in their life, or ill health, or bad luck, and others don't. It is purely a reflection of their internal state. So our code, or our energetic passport, is our entry ticket to a new timeline that we've created. We are shifting timelines right now. But as every Olympic runner will tell you, if you want to win the race, you can't give up or slow down until you cross the finish line. This is not a time to give up. The finish line may be looming ahead in the next few months or so. We don't really know when. But this is not a time to give up, slow down, or go into fear. You have to keep your vibration high. You have to keep your energy elevated. I, for one, don't want to wake up in a hellhole of tyrannical rule or something that looks like the Hunger Games. My whole focus and attention for quite some time now already has been to create a particular energetic code within myself that aligns me to a timeline of abundance, health, happiness, freedom, and love. A distorted code will not get me there. So I need to keep my thoughts pure and my frequency high. I have no time to play on somebody else's timeline of what they think is happening here or of what it all means. And I certainly don't have time to go into fear. And I would recommend the same for you. So you could visualize it like this, as if your unique coding or passport allows you entry to a particular floor or level on a really tall building, which contains everything from the lower hell realms of that lower dimension in the basement to the ground floor, where everyone is wandering around lost and wondering what the hell is going on, a bit like we see on the planet right now, to the mezzanine level of the awakened people, all the way to the penthouse, where one can have access to the higher consciousness and vision over everything below it. Well, I'm planning on taking up residence in the penthouse, and I know that only my thoughts and consciousness will get me there. How about you? Which floor would you like to gain entry to? I'm creating my own reality. However, the more of us that focus on the same thing, the more easily it's created for all of us. And that's the beauty of unity, of community. Everyone coming together for a single purpose, elevated consciousness, freedom, and peace, coming together in unity. Community, the very thing that has been taken away through this social distancing. Now, you probably have heard this already. It's been proven that when people come together in prayer or meditation, that crime rates go down in the city where that prayer or meditation is taking place. That's the power of our focus and energy. It's imperative that we use our focus and energy in the right way now, visioning the higher potential that we all want and not feeding a negative timeline experience that is lolling just there on the horizon, waiting for us to step onto it. Self-isolation is an opportunity for transformation. Use this work, this time, to work on yourself, or to get healing or coaching with someone to help you see where you might be getting stuck, or where you're holding yourself in fear or limitation. And many of us have been doing this type of work, and we're all available online. So get some help if you need to shift your consciousness or vibration so that you can hold yourself high. Be here, be present. Keep your heart open and hold the higher consciousness on the planet so that the light of the divine can come through you and override whatever lower vibrational mess is happening here right now. I invite you to join my community on Facebook. My sole purpose is to awaken, inspire, and help you to transform your consciousness and become the highest vibrating being that you can possibly be. We need you on our team and working together for the highest good of all of us. Now, my group was previously only open to women, but I've opened the doors to men too now, because this is a reflection of a new level of my own work personally, and it's a byproduct of my process of transformation that I've been going through recently. So if you want to join my Facebook group, it's called Consciously Abundant Community, and you'd be very welcome to join us. I invite you to join me on this timeline shift. Together, let's create a high vibrational experience here on this planet. And together, let's clear away the control of anything that is vibrating at a frequency anything lower than love. Until next time, stay in the light, stay out of fear, and connect with other people that are like-minded, that are all coming together to really focus and put our energy into creating a timeline of beauty. That is what we've all been working for. It's what we've all been focused on for many, many years. And really, it's our time now to create that. I'm sorry if I got a little bit shouty and a little bit passionate and a little bit emotional, but I think it's really important that you take this message to heart and just think about it and see, you know, what is right for you in all of that. And I invite you to really pay attention to your thoughts, because you will create your own reality. And I hope for all of us that it's a very beautiful one. So I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.